My husband is convulsing on the floor of our dining room, and I'm the only one who knows it's his own fault. His brother is screaming for someone to call 911. His business partner is frozen by the window, wine glass still in hand. 12 dinner guests are pulling out their phones, some calling for help, others recording because that's what people do now. Me? I'm standing here perfectly calm, watching my husband suffer from the poison he meant for me. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're a subscriber, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The poison I switched into his glass when he wasn't looking. Before I tell you how we got here, let me take you back to 3 hours ago, when this was supposed to be a simple celebration dinner. 3 hours ago, I was standing in our kitchen in Riverside, putting the finishing touches on a dinner I didn't even want to host. My husband Devin had insisted we celebrate properly. "You just closed the biggest deal of your career, Marina," he'd said that morning, adjusting his tie in our bedroom mirror. "We need to show people what success looks like." The deal he was talking about was my software company's acquisition. 3 years of building a cybersecurity platform from the ground up, and I just sold it for $12 million. The contracts were signed 2 days ago. The money hit my account yesterday morning. And tonight, Devin wanted to celebrate with 12 of our closest friends and business associates. Except most of these people weren't my friends. They were his. His brother Jason, who'd borrowed $30,000 from us last year and never paid it back. His business partner Oslo Matheson, who ran some vague consulting firm that never seemed to actually consult on anything. His college buddies who suddenly remembered we existed once the acquisition news went public. And their wives, who smiled at me like we were friends while probably wondering how someone like me ended up with someone like Devin. I was in the kitchen arranging cheese on a board when I heard him come in through the garage. He'd been out all afternoon, supposedly picking up wine for dinner. He had 3 bottles in his arms when he walked past me into the dining room. "Got something special," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Thought we'd toast with the expensive stuff." I watched him through the doorway as he set the bottles on the sideboard. 2 of them he placed together on the left side. 1 bottle, a different label, darker glass, he set apart on the right. Then he pulled out his phone, took a picture of the arrangement, and texted it to someone. That's when something in my gut twisted. Not panic. Not fear yet. Just awareness. The kind of awareness you get when your subconscious notices a pattern before your conscious mind catches up. I kept arranging cheese like nothing was wrong. Like I hadn't just watched my husband of 8 years do something that felt deliberately strange. Position wine bottles like pieces on a chessboard and photograph them. Send the photo to someone. The guests started arriving at 6. Jason came first, bringing his girlfriend Elise Felix, a real estate agent who wore too much perfume and laughed too loud at everything. Oslo arrived with his wife Ruby, who worked in pharmaceutical sales and wouldn't stop talking about their vacation to Napa. The rest filtered in over the next 20 minutes. Business associates whose names I could barely remember. People who'd ignored my emails for 3 years suddenly very interested in my success. Devin played the perfect host. Took coats, poured drinks, made introductions like he'd orchestrated this whole thing. Which I guess he had. I'd wanted something small, maybe dinner with my actual friends, the ones who'd supported me when I was maxing out credit cards to keep my startup alive. But Devin said this was better. More appropriate. More impressive. "You need to network," he'd told me. "Success isn't just about the work. It's about who you know, who sees you winning." So here I was, in my own home, surrounded by people I didn't particularly like, celebrating an achievement that was entirely mine but somehow felt like his production. Dinner was ready by 7. We all moved to the dining room, the one we never used, the one Devin insisted we renovate last year even though I thought it was fine. Everyone took their seats around our expensive table with our expensive china that Devin had picked out. And that's when I saw him do it. He was at the sideboard, opening the wine bottles. 2 regular bottles of expensive red wine, and that third one, the one he'd set apart. He poured from the 2 normal bottles first, filling glasses for everyone around the table. Casual, smooth, playing sommelier for our guests. Then he reached for the third bottle. The dark one. Poured from it into 2 glasses specifically. One he set in front of his own place at the head of the table. The other he carried over to me, smiling. For the woman of the hour, he said, setting it down in front of me with a slight flourish. And that's when I knew. I don't know how I knew, but I did. Something about the way he'd isolated that bottle. The way he'd positioned it away from the others. The photo he'd sent. The deliberate separation of those 2 glasses from everyone else's. I looked down at my wine. Then at his, sitting at his empty place at the table. Both filled from the same bottle. Both looking identical, deep red, slightly viscous, catching the light from our chandelier. Everyone else had wine from the normal bottles. Just the 2 of us had wine from the special one. I picked up my glass, pretending to examine the color like I knew what I was doing. Devon was already moving back to his seat, satisfied. Confident. That's when I made my decision. I didn't drink it. The moment Devon sat down at the head of the table, I knew I had maybe 30 seconds to make this work. Everyone was settling in, chatting, reaching for bread, commenting on how nice the table looked. Oslo was telling some story about a client meeting. Jason was laughing too loud. Ruby was asking Elise about open houses in the area. Normal dinner party noise. I stood up slowly, like I'd just remembered something. I forgot the salad dressing, I said to no one in particular. Devon, honey, could you help me grab it from the kitchen? The bottle's on the top shelf. He looked annoyed for a split second. This wasn't part of his script, but he covered it quickly. Of course, babe. We both stood. He headed toward the kitchen. I followed, but as I passed behind his chair, I made my move. My wine glass in my left hand. His wine glass right there on the table. One quick swap. His glass to my spot. My glass to his spot. The whole thing took maybe 2 seconds. Nobody was watching. They were all absorbed in their own conversations, their own glasses, their own little worlds. I kept walking to the kitchen like nothing had happened. My heart was absolutely hammering, but my hands were steady. Devon was already at the refrigerator, pulling out the dressing container I'd deliberately left on the top shelf. Here, he said, handing it to me. Thanks. I took it, met his eyes, smiled. You're the best. We walked back to the dining room together. He sat down in his spot. I sat down in mine. Both of us now sitting in front of the wrong glass. His poisoned wine in front of him. My safe wine in front of me. If I was wrong about this, if I just imagined the threat, if I was being paranoid, then nothing would happen. We'd all have a nice dinner. I'd look back on this moment and laugh at how crazy I'd gotten. But I wasn't wrong. I knew I wasn't wrong. Devon raised his glass. Everyone else picked up theirs. Before we eat, he said, his voice carrying that practiced charm he used for presentations, I want to make a toast. To my incredible wife, Marina. 3 years ago, she had an idea and a dream. A lot of people doubted her. He paused, looked around the table for effect. Including some people in this room, if we're being honest. Polite laughter. I saw Oslo shift uncomfortably. Jason looked down at his plate. But she didn't give up, Devon continued. She worked harder than anyone I've ever known. Late nights, early mornings, weekends, holidays. She sacrificed everything to make her vision real. And now, that sacrifice has paid off. Everyone murmured appreciatively. I felt Ruby's eyes on me, assessing, probably wondering if I'd redone my wardrobe yet or upgraded my car. I'm so proud of you, Marina, Devon said, turning to look at me directly. His eyes were warm, his smile genuine. If I didn't know better, I'd believe every word. You deserve everything that's coming to you. The phrasing made my skin crawl. Everything that's coming to you. To Marina, he said, raising his glass higher. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. To Marina, everyone chorused. We all lifted our glasses. I watched Devon over the rim of mine. He was watching me too. Waiting. Making sure I drank. I brought the glass to my lips. Took the smallest possible sip. Barely wet my mouth. The wine tasted normal, expensive, slightly dry, nothing off about it. Because this was the safe wine. The wine everyone else was drinking. Devon took a much larger gulp. I watched his throat work as he swallowed. Once. Twice. A proper celebratory drink. Then he set his glass down, smiled at me, and picked up his fork. Let's eat, he said. Dinner started. Plates were passed. Conversations overlapped. Oslo launched into another story about a business trip to Seattle. Jason was arguing with Elise about something related to her real estate license. Ruby was complaining about her boss. I sat there, fork in hand, moving food around my plate. I couldn't eat. My stomach was twisted into knots. Every nerve in my body was screaming at me to do something, to leave, to run. But I didn't. I sat there. Waited. Watched. Devon ate normally for about 5 minutes. Laughed at Oslo's jokes. Asked Jason about his new job. Complimented Elisa's dress. Playing the gracious host. Then I saw his hand go to his throat. Just for a second. A quick touch, like something felt wrong. He cleared his throat, took another sip of wine. Tried to cover it. 2 minutes later, he cleared his throat again. This time longer, more forceful. Ruby glanced at him, then went back to her conversation. 3 minutes after that, his hand was pressed flat against his chest. His face had gone slightly pale. A thin sheen of sweat was forming on his forehead. You okay? Oslo asked from across the table. Yeah, fine, Devon said, his voice tight. Just something in my throat. But it wasn't fine. I could see it in his eyes. The confusion. The growing concern. The first edge of real fear. He took another drink of wine, trying to wash down whatever was happening. That made it worse. His hand went back to his throat. His breathing got shallower. Devon? I said, keeping my voice neutral, concerned wife appropriate. He stood up abruptly. His chair scraped against the floor. Everyone stopped talking. I'm fine, That's when his knees buckled. Devon hit the floor hard. Not a graceful stumble or a slow sink to his knees. A full collapse, like someone had cut his strings. His wine glass went flying, red liquid splashing across our cream-colored carpet. The sound of his body hitting the hardwood was sickening, a heavy thud that made everyone jump. For a split second, nobody moved. We all just stared. Then chaos. Jason was out of his chair first, dropping to his knees beside his brother. Devon. Devon, can you hear me? Devon was conscious, but barely. His eyes were open but unfocused, rolling slightly. His mouth moved like he was trying to speak, but only strangled sounds came out. His hands were clutching at his chest, his throat, like he couldn't figure out where the pain was coming from. Oh my God, Elise said, her hand over her mouth. Oh my God, what's happening? Call 911. Oslo shouted, already pulling out his phone. Someone call 911. Ruby was frozen by her chair, her face sheet white. The other guests were standing now, backing away from the table like whatever was happening might be contagious. One of them, I think it was Devon's colleague from his consulting firm, was already recording on his phone. I stood up slowly. Walked around the table to where Devon was on the floor. My heart was pounding, but my hands weren't shaking. I felt weirdly detached, like I was watching this happen to someone else. Jason was cradling Devon's head, his voice cracking with panic. What did you eat? What did you drink? Devin, stay with me, man. Devin's eyes found mine. For just a second, they focused. And I saw it, the confusion, the fear, and underneath it all, the dawning realization. He knew. Somehow, in his oxygen-starved brain, he understood what had happened. I crouched down beside them, playing the concerned wife. Put my hand on Devin's shoulder. Hang on, baby. Help is coming. His mouth worked. He was trying to say something to me. Only me. But his vocal cords weren't working right. The sound that came out was just a rasp, barely human. Don't try to talk, I said softly. Save your energy. Oslo was on the phone with 911, giving them our address. He just collapsed. I don't know. We were eating dinner and he just, yes, he's breathing, but barely. His lips are turning blue. Please hurry. Jason looked up at me, his face desperate. What did he eat? Did he have an allergy? Marina, did he eat something? We all ate the same thing, I said, keeping my voice calm. The only difference was the wine. The wine? Ruby spoke up from behind us, her voice shrill. We all had wine. Not all the same wine, I said, still looking at Devin. His eyes were still on me, but they were getting cloudier. Devin opened a special bottle. Just for him and me. I stood up, walked back to the table. Picked up the dark bottle he'd poured from. Held it up to the light. This one. He said it was something special. Oslo grabbed his own wine glass, sniffed it, then sniffed Devin's empty glass on the floor. These don't smell the same. No, I agreed. They don't. Jason's eyes went from the bottle to Devin to me. Are you saying someone poisoned the wine? I'm saying something's in that bottle that isn't in these other bottles, I said. And Devin was very specific about which glass I should drink from. The room went completely silent except for Devin's labored breathing and the distant sound of sirens getting closer. Elise took a step back from the table. Wait, are you saying Devin tried to poison you? I didn't answer. Just looked at her. Then at the bottle. Then at Devin on the floor. Jason's face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion. Denial. Anger. That's insane. He wouldn't, Marina, you can't actually think. I handed the wine bottle to one of them. He drank from this. Nobody else did. I think there's something in it. The paramedic took it carefully, like it might explode. Sealed it in an evidence bag he pulled from his kit. They worked on Devin for 3 minutes right there on our dining room floor. For line, oxygen mask, something injected into his arm. Then they had him on a stretcher, rushing him toward the ambulance. Jason followed them out, still shouting questions nobody was answering. Oslo and Ruby went too. Most of the other guests scattered, probably wanting to get as far from this disaster as possible. Within 10 minutes, the only people left in my dining room were me, 2 police officers who'd arrived with the paramedics, and Elise, who was sitting in a chair crying quietly. One of the officers, young, maybe late 20s, nameplate reading, Officer Chen, looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Ma'am, he said carefully. I'm going to need you to explain exactly what happened here. I set down my wine glass. The safe one. The one that was meant for Devin's seat. Officer, I said. I'd like to report an attempted murder. Mine. Officer Chen exchanged a look with his partner, an older woman with sharp eyes and graying hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her nameplate read, Officer Vasquez. Ma'am, Vasquez said, her voice measured, why don't we all sit down? We moved to the living room. The dining room was now a crime scene, abandoned plates, spilled wine, Devin's overturned chair. Elise was still crying in the corner, mascara running down her face. The officers suggested she wait in another room, and she practically ran to the kitchen. I sat on the couch. Chen and Vasquez took the chairs across from me. Chen pulled out a notepad. Vasquez just watched me with those sharp eyes. Start from the beginning, Vasquez said. Take your time. So I did. I told them about the acquisition, about Devin insisting we host this dinner, about him going out to buy wine. I described how he'd arranged the bottles, how he'd photographed them, how he'd sent that photo to someone. Do you know who he sent it to? Chen asked. No. But it'll be on his phone. Chen made a note. Vasquez nodded for me to continue. I told them about the dinner starting, about Devin deliberately pouring from one specific bottle into only 2 glasses. About how he'd made a show of giving me mine. About the feeling in my gut that something was wrong. So you switched the glasses, Vasquez said. It wasn't a question. Yes. Why didn't you just not drink it? Or call the police right then? I'd been expecting this question. Because I didn't know for sure. What if I was wrong? What if I was just being paranoid? I'd accuse my husband of trying to poison me based on a feeling. So instead you gave him the potentially poisoned wine, Chen said, his pen hovering over his notepad. I gave him back what he'd prepared, I corrected. If there was nothing wrong with it, we'd both be fine. If there was something wrong with it. I gestured vaguely toward where the ambulance had been. Then I'd have my answer. Vasquez leaned forward slightly. Mrs. Wilcox, do you have any idea why your husband would want to hurt you? 12 million reasons, I said quietly. Chen's pen stopped moving. The acquisition money. Yes. Is it joint property? Vasquez asked. I shook my head. No. I owned the company before we got married. We have a prenup. Very clear terms. What's mine is mine, what's his is his. In a divorce, Devin would get basically nothing from the sale. But if you died. Chen was connecting the dots. If I died, he'd inherit everything. We don't have kids. My parents are dead. I have a will that leaves everything to him. I paused. Or I did. I was planning to change it next week. Did he know that? Vasquez asked. I mentioned it 2 days ago. After the money cleared. I said I wanted to update our estate planning, maybe set up some trusts, donate to charities. How did he react? He got quiet. Said we should talk about it before I made any major decisions. That we should celebrate first, enjoy the moment. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I guess this was his celebration. Chen was writing furiously. Vasquez pulled out her own phone, typed something, then looked back at me. Mrs. Wilcox, has your husband been having financial difficulties? The question landed like a stone in still water. Why do you ask that? Just answer the question, please. I thought about the credit card statements I'd seen, the ones Devin thought I didn't look at. The cash advances. The mysterious transfers. Yes. His consulting business hasn't been profitable in over a year. Maybe longer. Do you support him financially? I pay most of our bills. The mortgage, utilities, groceries. He's supposed to contribute, but... I shrugged. But he hasn't been, Vasquez finished. Not consistently. Chen looked up from his notes. What about his family? His brother Jason. Does he have financial issues? I thought about the $30,000 loan that never got repaid. Yes. Jason's always asking for money. Devin usually helps him out. With your money, Vasquez said. With our household money, yes. The officers looked at each other again. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Mrs. Wilcox, Vasquez said, we're going to need to take formal statements from everyone who was here tonight. We're also going to need access to your husband's phone, computer, any financial records you have. Of course. Whatever you need. We'll need to secure that wine bottle as evidence. The hospital will run toxicology on your husband's blood. If there's something in his system that shouldn't be there, this becomes an attempted murder investigation. Attempted murder of me, I said firmly. He's the one who brought the poison into our home. He's the one who tried to make me drink it. We understand, Chen said. But right now, he's the one in the ambulance. So we have to investigate what happened to him, too. He poisoned himself, I said, feeling frustration rise in my chest. Because he tried to poison me first. That's your account of events, Vasquez said carefully. And we're taking it seriously. But we need evidence to support it. The wine bottle is evidence. Your husband's phone and computer will provide evidence. The testimonies from your guests will provide evidence. What about the fact that he specifically separated that bottle from the others? That he only poured from it for himself and me? That he photographed the arrangement? All of that matters, Vasquez assured me. But we need to document everything properly. Build a complete case. I realized what was happening. They weren't sure if they believed me. They were being careful, professional, treating this like any other potential crime. Which meant they were treating me like a potential suspect. Am I under arrest? I asked quietly. No, Chen said immediately. But we would appreciate if you stayed available for further questioning. Don't leave town without letting us know. This is my home. I'm not going anywhere. Vasquez stood up. We're going to need you to come down to the station in a few days. Give a formal statement. We'll be in touch about timing. Fine. They moved toward the door. Chen paused, turned back. Mrs. Wilcox, I have to ask. Are you sorry? That your husband drank from that glass? I looked at him. Really looked at him. This young officer with his notepad and his careful questions. No, I said honestly. I'm not sorry he's suffering. I'm angry that he tried to kill me. After the police left, I stood in my living room and looked at the disaster that used to be my celebration dinner. Empty wine glasses. Half-eaten plates of food. Devin's chair still knocked over on its side. A dark stain on the carpet where his glass had shattered. Elise came out of the kitchen, her eyes red and swollen. I should go, she said quietly. Okay. She grabbed her purse from the hall table, then paused at the door. Marina, I don't. I mean, do you really think Devin would? Yes, I said simply. I really think he would. She left without another word. The house felt enormous after everyone was gone. Too quiet. Too empty. I should have been exhausted, but instead I felt wired. Alert. My mind racing. I went upstairs to our bedroom, the space we'd shared for 8 years, and suddenly it all felt contaminated. I grabbed a pillow and blanket, went to the guest room, and pulled out my laptop. If Devin had planned this, there would be evidence. Financial records. Communications. Something that would explain why. I started with our joint accounts. Pulled up bank statements going back 6 months. And there it was, a pattern I'd been too distracted to notice before. Devin's contributions to our household account had been getting smaller. $2,000 last month. $1,500 the month before. $800 in September. Nothing in August. His business was dying, and he'd been hiding it. I opened our shared cloud drive and found a folder I'd never noticed before, Personal, DW. Inside were credit applications. Dozens of them. All rejected. Devin had been trying to borrow money for months. $50,000 from one bank. $75,000 from another. All denied. His debt-to-income ratio was too high. His business wasn't profitable enough. Then I found the emails. Printed copies saved as PDFs. Between Devin and someone named M. Strand. From M. Strand Devin, I can get you what you need, but it's not going to be cheap. 15% interest, compounding monthly. From Devin Wilcox, 15% is insane. From M. Strand, no bank will lend to you. That's why you're talking to me. The thread continued. Devin accepting the terms. Borrowing $40,000. Then, 2 weeks before the dinner, a payment notice. From M. Strand, payment was due yesterday. Where's my money? From Devin Wilcox, my wife's company is about to sell. I just need another week. From M. Strand, you have 3 days. After that, we have a problem. My hands were shaking. I took screenshots of everything, uploaded them to a secure cloud storage, password protected the files. Devin hadn't just been desperate. He'd been cornered. Trapped between a failed business and a debt he couldn't pay. And then I'd closed a deal worth $12 million, money he couldn't touch because of our prenup. Unless I was dead. My phone buzzed. A text from Jason, Devin's in ICU. They're running tests. What the hell happened, Marina? I didn't respond. Another text, this one from Oslo, Ruby and I are at the hospital. The doctors won't tell us anything. Are you coming? No. I wasn't going to sit in a waiting room pretending to be the concerned wife. Instead, I called the one person I knew would answer at 11:30 at night. Denise had been my roommate in college, my bridesmaid at my wedding, the person who'd told me 8 years ago that she had a weird feeling about Devin but supported me anyway. She answered on the second ring, her voice thick with sleep. Marina? What's wrong? Devin tried to poison me tonight. Silence. Then, what? He put something in my wine. I switched our glasses. He collapsed. He's in the ICU. Oh my God. Marina, where are you? Are you okay? I'm home. I'm fine. The police were here. They took statements. I paused. Denise, I need help. I found emails between Devin and someone called M. Strand. A loan shark. Devin owes him $40,000. I'm coming over. Right now. It's almost midnight. I don't care. Give me 20 minutes. She arrived in 18. I heard her car in the driveway, heard her key in the lock. I'd given her a spare years ago. She found me in the guest room, laptop open, surrounded by printed statements and documents. She took one look at my face and said, "Okay. Tell me everything. Then let's figure out how to destroy him." We spent the next 4 hours going through everything I'd found. The loan applications. The rejected credit requests. The emails with M. Strand. The pattern of Devin's desperation building over months. He didn't just wake up and decide to kill you, Denise said around 3 a.m. This was planned. Calculated. He was probably researching methods for weeks. I need to find proof of that. Where would he keep it? Not on his main computer. Not anywhere you'd normally look. I thought about Devin's office. The filing cabinet with the locked third drawer I'd never been able to open. I know where to look, I said. We went downstairs. I grabbed a screwdriver from the kitchen and pried open the locked drawer. Inside was a brown accordion folder. And inside that folder was everything. A burner phone. Battery dead. Printed articles about poisonous plants. Specifically oleander. How to extract the toxins. What dosage was lethal. One article about a murder case where a woman had killed her husband with oleander tea. Handwritten notes in Devin's writing. Oleander extraction, boil leaves 20 minutes, strain, reduce liquid by half. Approximate, 10 milliliters equals lethal dose for 150 pounds person. Tasteless in red wine. Symptoms begin 30 minutes to 2 hours. More notes, life insurance policy, $2 million. Check if acquisition counts as changed circumstances. And, witness list, Jason, Oslo, Ruby, Elise plus others. Need 10 to 12 people. Must see me being supportive. Must see M stressed/overwhelmed. M. Me. Marina. Denise read over my shoulder. Oh my God. He'd been planning this for months. I kept digging. Found bank statements for an account I'd never seen. The $40,000 from him, Strand, deposited 5 weeks ago. Then withdrawals. $5,000 here. $8,000 there. One payment caught my eye, Riverside Botanical Consulting, $2,000. What's Riverside Botanical Consulting? Denise asked. I Googled it. No website. No business listing. Nothing. I'd bet anything that's where Devon learned how to extract the poison, I said. Or where he got help doing it. I photographed everything. Every note. Every statement. Every piece of evidence. Uploaded it all to the secure cloud storage. By the time the sky started turning gray, we had a complete timeline. Devon's financial collapse. The loan from him, Strand. The research into poison. The planning of the dinner party. All of it documented. You need a lawyer, Denise said. A really good one. I know. And you can't stay here alone. What if Devon's family shows up? What if Strand realizes the plan failed? I'm not leaving my house. Then I'm staying with you. She did. We both slept a few hours in the guest room, and when we woke up at 8, my phone was full of messages. From Jason, Oslo, Ruby, Elise. From reporters asking for comments. From neighbors asking what had happened. And one text from an unknown number: stop looking into things that don't concern you. I showed it to Denise. Her face went pale. That's a threat. From Strand, probably. He knows I'm digging. We're calling the police. Right now. But I had a better idea. First, I said, I'm calling a lawyer. I hired Catherine Masters at 7 that morning. Denise's cousin worked in corporate law and gave me her number with one instruction: she's the best criminal defense attorney in Virginia. If anyone can protect you, it's her. Catherine agreed to meet me at 9. She was maybe 50, with silver-streaked hair cut in a sharp bob and a no-nonsense demeanor that immediately made me feel safer. I showed her everything. The notes from Devon's office. The emails with Strand. The bank statements. The burner phone. She examined each piece methodically, photographing everything with her own camera. This is premeditation, she said. Clear planning over weeks, maybe months. The research, the calculations, the witness list. This isn't impulse. This is murder for hire. The police think I might have poisoned him, I said. That I'm making up the story to cover what I did. I know. That's why we're going to be proactive. She pulled out her laptop. First, we're getting you a cognitive competency evaluation. If Devon's family tries to claim you're mentally unstable or declining, we'll have documentation that you're fully competent. Can they do that? Have me declared incompetent? With $12 million at stake? They'll try everything. We're not giving them the opportunity. She made a call. Scheduled me for an evaluation with a neuropsychologist named Dr. Sarah Feldman for that afternoon. Second, Catherine continued, we're updating your estate planning immediately. New will, irrevocable trusts that exclude Devon and his family by name. We make it legally impossible for them to benefit from your death. How fast can we do that? Documents drafted today. Signing tomorrow. Effective immediately. What about the police investigation? We cooperate fully. Give them everything we've found. But we also control the narrative. She looked at me seriously. Marina, here's what you need to understand. Right now, this is a race. We need to prove Devon tried to kill you before they build a case that you tried to kill him. That means finding Strand, documenting the conspiracy, and gathering evidence that's absolutely bulletproof. How do we find Strand? Catherine pulled out her phone. Made 3 calls in quick succession. To a private investigator. To a forensic accountant. To someone she called a digital specialist. By noon, we had leads. The phone number that texted Devon belonged to a burner, purchased 3 months ago at a convenience store in South Riverside. The investigator was pulling security footage. The $40,000 wire transfer came from Strand Financial Services LLC, registered in Oregon. The forensic accountant was tracing the corporate structure. And Riverside Botanical Consulting, the $2,000 payment, went to a Venmo account belonging to Marcus Strand. Marcus Strand, Catherine said, writing it down. That's our guy. She ran the name through every database she had access to. Marcus Strand, 42, lived in a suburb outside Riverside. No criminal record, but several civil lawsuits over unpaid debts and predatory lending. One lawsuit called him a loan shark operating under the guise of alternative financing. He owned a small commercial property in an industrial area. The tax records listed it as warehouse and office space. That's where he made the poison, I said. Probably. But we can't go there ourselves. We need the police to execute a search warrant. Catherine was already dialing. I'm calling Detective Vasquez. The call lasted 30 minutes. I could only hear Catherine's side, but I watched her lay out the evidence piece by piece. The notes. The burner phone. The payments to Marcus Strand. The texts about the setup. When she hung up, she looked cautiously optimistic. They're moving fast. Search warrant tomorrow morning at 6. If they find evidence Marcus provided or helped create the poison, they'll arrest him. My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Your husband is going to recover. And when he does, he's going to tell everyone the truth about what you did to him. You should have made sure he died. I showed Catherine. Her jaw tightened. That's witness intimidation. We're reporting it. She took a photo of my screen. And Marina, you don't go anywhere alone until this is resolved. I'm hiring private security. 2 guards, 24/7. You think I'm in danger? I think someone is very nervous about what you might uncover. The cognitive evaluation took 3 hours. Memory tests. Problem-solving puzzles. Pattern recognition. Spatial reasoning. Count backward from 100 by 7s. Explain proverbs. Identify similarities and differences. Dr. Feldman was thorough and clinical. When she finished scoring everything, she looked at me with something like respect. Mrs. Wilcox, you show no signs of cognitive impairment. Your memory is in the 95th percentile. Your reasoning skills are exceptional. There is absolutely no indication you're incapable of managing your own affairs. She printed the evaluation, signed it, and handed me a copy. This is legally binding documentation. If anyone tries to claim you're not competent, this will stop them immediately. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. You're welcome. And Mrs. Wilcox? Be careful. People do terrible things for money. By the time I got home, it was after 6. Catherine's security guards were already there, 2 professionals who'd patrol the property in shifts. Denise was still at my house, had been there all day, working remotely from my kitchen table. How'd it go? She asked. I'm officially competent. And the police are executing a search warrant on Marcus Strand's warehouse tomorrow morning. Good. Then maybe this nightmare will finally be over. But it wasn't over. Not yet. That night, lying in the guest room with my door locked and my phone charging beside me, I pulled up the property records for Marcus Strand's warehouse one more time. Satellite view showed an isolated building surrounded by other warehouses. Not many cameras. Not much foot traffic. The kind of place where you could extract poison from plants without anyone wondering what you were doing. Tomorrow, the police would find the evidence. Tomorrow, they'd arrest Marcus. Tomorrow, the truth would finally come out. I just had to survive until then. Catherine called at 6:30. They found it. The extraction equipment, oleander plants, chemical processing gear, detailed notes on poison preparation. Marina, they've got him. By 7, Marcus Strand was in custody. Catherine and I watched the news coverage from my living room. The same reporters who'd been eager to interview me were now broadcasting from outside Marcus Strand's warehouse. Police cars. Crime scene tape. Officers carrying boxes of evidence. Significant development in the Riverside poisoning case, the reporter said. Police have arrested Marcus Strand in connection with the alleged attempted murder of Marina Wilcox. Sources tell us investigators found evidence of poison production at this location. They showed Marcus being led out in handcuffs. Tall, thin, graying hair, weathered face. He didn't look like a criminal mastermind. He looked like someone who'd gotten in over his head. My phone buzzed with messages. Suddenly everyone wanted to apologize, to say they'd never believed I was guilty. I ignored them all except Denise. Told you we'd get them. Catherine's phone rang. She answered, then put it on speaker. Detective Vasquez. Mrs. Wilcox, I wanted to update you personally. We've arrested Marcus Strand on charges of conspiracy to commit murder and manufacturing poison with intent to cause harm. We're also preparing charges for witness intimidation. Those texts you received came from a burner we found in his warehouse. What about Devon? I asked. We sent officers to the hospital this morning. Given the new evidence, we're filing formal charges against him as well. Attempted murder in the first degree, conspiracy, fraud related to the life insurance policy. When will he be arrested? Once he's medically cleared, probably in another day or two, he'll be transferred to county jail. And the charges against me? Catherine asked pointedly. There was a pause. We're not pursuing any charges against Mrs. Wilcox. The evidence clearly shows she was the intended victim and acted in self-defense. I want to apologize for how this investigation initially proceeded, Detective. We should have looked deeper into Mr. Wilcox's finances from the start. Yes, Catherine said coolly. You should have. After Vasquez hung up, Catherine turned to me. How do you feel? Relieved. Angry. Exhausted. I stared at the TV. Mostly angry that I had to fight this hard just to be believed. That's normal. You were victimized twice, once by Devon, once by people who should have protected you. My phone rang. The Riverside District Attorney's office. Mrs. Wilcox. This is Sarah Chen. I'm the prosecutor assigned to your case. I was hoping we could meet this week to discuss your testimony. Of course. I want you to know we take this very seriously. What your husband and Marcus Strand did was premeditated attempted murder. We're going to make sure they both spend a very long time in prison. Thank you. One more thing. We recovered recordings from Marcus Strand's warehouse. He recorded his conversations with your husband, all of them. Those recordings will be the centerpiece of our case. My heart pounded. Recordings? Marcus was protecting himself. Making sure he had proof Devon initiated everything, in case things went wrong. Which they did. Your husband's own words, planning your murder. 2 days later, the DA's office. I sat in a conference room with Catherine beside me and Sarah Chen across the table. A laptop sat in front of us with 6 audio files. These are the conversations Marcus recorded, Sarah explained. They span 3 weeks. Are you ready? I nodded. She clicked play. Devon's voice came through the speakers, and hearing it made my chest tighten. Devon, Marcus, I need your help. I'm in a bad situation. Marcus, what kind of situation? Devon, financial. My business is failing. I owe money to people who won't wait. And my wife just closed a deal worth $12 million. Marcus, congratulations to her. Devon, except I can't touch any of it. We have a prenup. If we divorce, I get nothing. Marcus, then don't divorce. Devon, she wants to update her will, cut me out. Once she does that, I'm screwed. Pause. Marcus, so what are you asking me, Devon? Devon, I'm asking if you know anyone who could help with a permanent solution. Marcus, you mean kill her? Devon, I mean make it look like an accident. Something no one would question. My hands were shaking. Catherine put her hand over mine. There are 5 more, Sarah said. They get more specific. Do you want to hear them? Yes, I whispered. I listened to all 6 recordings. Heard Devon discuss dosages and symptoms and timing. Heard him plan the dinner party specifically for witnesses. Heard him talk about the life insurance payout. The final recording, from the day before the dinner. Devon, you're sure this will work? Marcus, if she drinks the whole glass, she'll be dead in an hour. Devon, good. I can't do this anymore. Living with her, pretending I care. She thinks she's so smart, so successful. Tomorrow night, she'll just be another cautionary tale about people who work themselves to death. Those words broke something in me. The man I'd married. The man I'd trusted. The man who'd watched me build my company from nothing and resented every success. He hadn't just wanted my money. He'd wanted me erased. After the recordings ended, I sat in silence. Catherine's hand was still on mine. Sarah waited patiently. I want to testify, I said finally. I want to look him in the eye and tell everyone what he did. You'll get your chance, Sarah said. The trial starts in January. The courthouse in downtown Riverside was packed every day. Reporters, onlookers, people who'd followed the case online. I sat in the front row with Catherine and Denise. Across the aisle, Jason and Elise wouldn't look at me. The prosecution's case was overwhelming. They played the recordings. All 6 of them. The courtroom went silent except for Devon's voice planning my murder like he was ordering takeout. I watched the jury's faces. Saw the disgust. The horror. They showed the notes from Devon's hidden folder. The research on Oleander. The handwritten calculations. The witness list with my name marked as M. They presented the texts between Devon and Marcus. The photo of the wine bottles. Dark bottle is the one. 2 glasses. Marcus Strand had taken a plea deal, 15 years in exchange for testifying. He sat on the witness stand in an orange jumpsuit and told the jury everything. How much was your cut supposed to be? The prosecutor asked. 200,000. 10% of the life insurance. And you believed Mr. Wilcox would pay you? He was desperate. Desperate people follow through. Devon's lawyer tried to argue his client never intended to go through with it. That the conversations were just talk, fantasy, words of a man under stress. But then they played the final recording. Tomorrow night, she'll just be another cautionary tale. The defense attorney sat down. There was nothing left to argue. I testified on day 4. Why didn't you just refuse to drink? The prosecutor asked. Because I wasn't certain, I said. I saw something suspicious, but I didn't know for sure. If I was wrong and accused him, I'd destroy our marriage over nothing. If I was right and drank anyway, I'd be dead. Switching the glasses gave me the answer without risking my life. And when you saw your husband collapse? I looked at Devon then. Really looked at him. Thinner, paler, wearing a cheap suit. He met my eyes for just a second, then looked away. Relief, I said honestly. Because it meant I was right. My instincts saved my life. And then anger. So much anger. The defense cross-examined me for 2 hours. Tried to make me look paranoid, vindictive, like I'd overreacted to innocent behavior. But every time they pushed, I had an answer. Backed by evidence. Documentation. The recordings. Mrs. Wilcox, isn't it true you resented your husband's financial dependence on you? No. I resented that he tried to murder me. Isn't it true you wanted out of your marriage? If I'd wanted out, I would have filed for divorce. Not switched wine glasses. Isn't it true you gave your husband poisoned wine knowing it would kill him? I gave him back what he'd prepared for me. If there was nothing wrong with it, we'd both be fine. In the hallway during a break, Jason confronted me. His face red, eyes blazing. "You destroyed him," he said. "You could have just divorced him. You didn't have to do this." "He tried to kill me, Jason. You don't know that. You assumed. You switched those glasses and now my brother's going to prison for 20 years because you were paranoid. The recordings prove. The recordings prove he was desperate. Not that he was actually going to do it." Catherine stepped between us. "Mr. Wilcox, if you continue harassing my client, I'll file a restraining order." Jason backed off, but his glare followed me all the way back to the courtroom. Devin never testified. His lawyer advised against it. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they came back, the forewoman stood. In the case of the state versus Devin Wilcox, on the charge of attempted murder in the first degree, we find the defendant guilty. Jason made a sound like he'd been punched. Elise was crying. Devin sat perfectly still. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of fraud related to life insurance, we find the defendant guilty. 3 for 3. 2 weeks later, sentencing. Devin stood before the judge in shackles. I sat in the gallery, watching. "Mr. Wilcox," the judge said, "you planned and attempted to murder your wife for financial gain. You researched methods, enlisted help, and executed a plan that would have succeeded had your wife not been observant and quick-thinking. You betrayed someone who trusted you, who built a life with you. The only reason you're here for sentencing instead of a murder trial is because she was smarter than you." The judge sentenced him to 25 years in state prison. No parole for 15. Devin turned as they led him away. Our eyes met one last time. I didn't see remorse. Just resentment. He hated me for surviving. For winning. Outside the courthouse, Catherine made a brief statement to reporters. I stood beside her, silent. Marina Wilcox is grateful for the jury's verdict and the justice system's recognition of what was done to her. She looks forward to rebuilding her life without fear. Denise drove me home. The security guards were gone now. I didn't need them anymore. My lawn was just a lawn again. Inside, the house felt lighter. I'd redecorated the dining room, replaced the carpet, changed things so it didn't look like the place where my husband had tried to kill me. But even that wasn't enough. I sold the house 3 months later and bought a condo across town with floor-to-ceiling windows and a river view. No oleander in the landscaping. I started a new company. Not cybersecurity this time, something different. A nonprofit helping victims of financial abuse. People trapped in relationships where partners controlled their money, their choices, their lives. Denise came on board as COO. We hired 5 employees in the first month. 10 by the 3rd month. The acquisition money, legally and completely mine, funded everything. Trusts. Donations. Investments in women-owned businesses. I was using the money the way I'd always planned, before I knew my husband was plotting to kill me for it. One Tuesday afternoon, I was in my new condo working on grant applications when my doorbell rang. I checked the camera, a habit I'd never break, and saw a woman I didn't recognize. Mid-30s, professional clothes, nervous expression. I opened the door cautiously. "Marina Wilcox?" she asked. "Yes. My name is Amy. Amy Rudnick. I don't know if I should be here, but I saw your story on the news. About your husband. About what he tried to do." "Okay," I said carefully. "My husband controls all our money. He took out life insurance on me without telling me. He's been acting strange, secretive. And yesterday I found oleander plants in our garage." Her voice cracked. "I think he's planning to kill me. And I don't know what to do." I looked at this terrified woman standing on my doorstep, asking for help from a stranger who'd survived what she feared facing. "Come in," I said. "Let's talk." She did. We sat in my living room and I told her everything. How to document. How to gather evidence. How to protect herself. Who to call. What to do. I gave her Catherine's number. Connected her with the private investigator who'd helped me find Marcus Strand. Explained the cognitive evaluation, the estate planning, the security measures. You don't have to wait until he tries, I said. You can leave now. Protect yourself now. But I don't have proof. What if I'm wrong? Then you're wrong and you're safe. But if you're right and you wait. I didn't finish the sentence. I didn't have to. She left 2 hours later with a folder full of resources, a safety plan, and my personal phone number. Thank you, she said at the door. You saved my life. You saved your own life by recognizing the danger. I just gave you tools. After she left, I stood at my window looking out at the city lights and the river below. Devon had tried to destroy me. Tried to take my life, my money, my future. He'd planned it carefully, nearly succeeded. But he'd failed. And in failing, he'd created something he never expected. Someone stronger. Someone who wouldn't just survive, but help others survive too. Someone who turned his attempt at murder into a mission to save lives. I poured myself a glass of wine, bottle-eyed opened myself, checked myself, controlled every step of. Stood at the window holding it. Thought about that dinner party. About the switched glasses. About the choice I'd made that saved my life. And about all the moments since. The investigation. The trial. The verdict. The rebuilding. I raised my glass to the window. To my reflection. To the woman I'd become. To survival, I whispered. To evidence. To being smart enough to trust your instincts. I took a sip. The wine tasted like freedom. Like victory. Like a future that was entirely mine. 3 weeks later, Amy called me. She'd left her husband. Filed for divorce. Taken her evidence to the police. They'd found a partially made oleander extract in his workshop. They arrested him, she said, her voice shaking. For conspiracy to commit murder. They found his search history. His notes. Everything you told me to look for. Good, I said. You did the right thing. I did what you taught me. You saved my life, Marina. No, I said firmly. You saved your own life. You recognized the danger. You took action. You protected yourself. That was all you. After we hung up, I sat in my office and thought about the dozen other women who'd contacted me since the trial. Women who'd seen my story and recognized their own situations. Women who'd asked for help. I couldn't save everyone. But I could give them the tools to save themselves. That was enough. That was everything. Devon had tried to make me another cautionary tale. Instead, I'd become a survivor's guide. And that was better than any revenge could ever be. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.